Hi mamas, my name is Megan Norkis and welcome to Our Virtual Village. Starting this podcast was inspired by a local mom group that I went to during my pregnancy and postpartum journey. Connecting with and relating to other moms was a major key for me as I was navigating all the new things that come with being a new mom. So my goal with this podcast is to bring those conversations and stories from my community to a virtual platform, and that's gonna bless moms everywhere. I'm so excited. My hope is that as you listen to this episode, you can hear from and learn about the common struggles that other moms are having in the trenches of motherhood with you, and feel encouraged because you're not momming alone. We are all winging it at this mom thing, and we can all learn from and help each other. So we're excited to have you as part of our village, and let's dive into the conversation.
Welcome to the first episode of Our Virtual Village. I'm excited that I get to interview my wife, Megan, and the host of this podcast, so that you can get to know the woman behind the idea a little bit more. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of podcasts out there, so why should people listen to this? I personally am a little biased, but I think it's because you're incredible. You know, I know that you have served as a nurse for years, you're a birth doula in the space, successful online businesses, and now you're a mom and a podcast host. So what led to this podcast?
Well, first of all, I'm so excited to be here. This is something I've been brainstorming for quite a while, especially since becoming a mom and seeing what kind of resources really blessed me. I'm just excited to have started this and have this plan in motion. And I also want to thank you as my husband, not only for just being here as a monumental, first podcast that I'm recording, but also just as a life partner. We've been together 12 years now, and it's crazy to me that we've been together that long. But you have helped me so much, come out of my shell, and just a lot of personal growth we've gone through over the years. I'm naturally very shy, so you've helped me get over a lot of that. But then also as a partner, once I was pregnant and walking through pregnancy and postpartum journey, you were a huge blessing. So I just want to thank you so much for all of your help. And I know that motherhood can be really confusing and frustrating. And I went to a mom group that really blessed me. I found an amazing community. So I just want to bring that to a virtual platform. That's really ultimately my goal with this podcast.
Okay. So I guess that's a great segue into who the podcast is for, right? So whoever's listening to this right now or will be listening to this, what does that person look like? Who is that?
Yeah, well, definitely just all kinds of moms. For sure, I think pregnant women are going to get a lot of value out of this, or people who want to be pregnant. I know for myself, I dealt with a lot of hormonal issues early on when we were thinking about pregnancy and things once we got married. And so I think education is just so important for pregnant women walking through starting to get pregnant, or once you are pregnant and walking through preparing for labor and delivery, whether you want a natural home birth and you're a super crunchy mom, or maybe you just totally want to birth in a hospital with an epidural. All moms are welcome here. This isn't, for one group or another. But I think there's just such a major gap between preparing for birth and planning for postpartum. I know there's so much hype and excitement when it comes to, getting pregnant, but not a lot of education when it comes to preparing. So I think you're going to get a ton of value if you're a pregnant mom, because we're going to have birth workers on here talking about, midwives, what they suggest for their clients, or different birth photographers, pelvic floor therapists, chiropractors, and then for sure moms and a bunch of other seasons. So I'll have some new moms on here that are kind of just sharing common struggles through postpartum. I will also have some other more seasoned moms that are in the thick of it, and they have a groove going on, and they can share a lot, with some of the new moms that are stressed, a lot of tools, and also just the seasoned moms finding that community and things like that. So really just all kinds of moms, whether you're planning to be a mom, or you're pregnant, or you're currently in the trenches. I think they'll find a lot of value out of this. So I'm excited.
Okay. So if you're a mom who already has kids, if you're a mom who is expecting, if you are not even anywhere near being a mom, but at some point in the future you want to be a mom, this is a community for moms, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What about dads? Are we not welcome?
Yeah. Community has become really, really important for me because I know in our culture, it's just so geared around a lot of negativity, unfortunately. Like a lot of moms, I feel like, or like women, when they get pregnant are kind of scared. They're like, so much of my body is going to change.
Yeah.
So much, of the dynamics in your relationships and your responsibilities are going to change. And also just with birth. Like I feel like so many people, they get real excited to announce their pregnancy and stuff, but as they near the, second, third trimester and they're finishing up their pregnancy, I know so many moms who've talked about like, I'm just scared. Like, oh my God.
There's so much fear.
Like the baby has to come out and now I don't know what to do. And you only get 5 minutes with your OB. So walking through that process with people is really important to me. And I've always wanted to help people, that's why I went into nursing. I was a pediatric nurse. I also really thought I would probably be a labor and delivery nurse at some point. But when I was in nursing school, it really opened my eyes when I had a friend that was a birth doula. I didn't even know what a birth doula was. I didn't really even understand what a midwife was.
I didn't know what any of this was either. So.
Yeah, and so when I heard the way she talked about birth, she was just so excited. She actually ended up getting pregnant throughout nursing school, and she was pumped for birth. She was really excited after she had the baby. She said it was an amazing experience.
That's crazy, because you never hear that.
No, and that was the first time I opened up a whole new world to me. Like, wait, people can love this process. I know that's what I want in the future. And then when your sister got pregnant, she asked me to be her birth doula, and I was able to kind of walk alongside her, and I loved it. And then I was a doula for some other close friends and family members, and I'm like, I love helping women walk through these different seasons. So yeah, that's really kind of when I fell in love with this whole process. And then of course, we got pregnant and that changed everything too.
So I guess that kind of explains why having the community now is so important to you. Did you always feel this way?
About the community? No, I honestly didn't realize how important community was until walking through that with your sister and seeing what a blessing it was for people to, call me after they had a, doctor's appointment they were unsure of, or if they weren't really feeling well and they just need to bounce ideas off another woman. I just realized how important community was. And then throughout my journey, for sure, I really realized it.
So with that being said, let's kind of now fast forward to 2023. When we found out that we were pregnant. Yeah,
finding out I was pregnant was kind of crazy because, I had grown so passionate about birth. Now I definitely know what a birth doula was. I'd stood in, as a birth doula for many people and just really fallen in love with the process. But then flipping over the pregnancy test of my own and seeing it was positive, I remember you asking me, are you even excited? Because I was just in shock. I was like, well, who do I call? You're like, I don't know. You're the birth doula. You know what to do. And I'm like, but people call me when they need help or oh my gosh, Megan, help me through this.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what does Megan do in this situation? And so that was just pretty surreal. And I didn't really know for sure if I was going to be down with a home birth or what I wanted. I did always know that I wanted very low interventions. I tend to want things to be as natural as possible in general. So I was just calling around different birth centers, midwives in our local area. And I remember calling Modern Midwives. And from the very first phone call, I just fell in love with Modern Midwives, I'm gonna be honest. They are the greatest of all time. Shout out to Modern Midwives. That's actually where we're recording this episode.
Yes.
And many of the future episodes will be here. So thank you, Modern Midwives, and the amazing midwives there for allowing us to use this space and so into the community. And honestly, that's why I fell in love with them. I talked to Olivia Martinez, their office manager, who is also literally such an amazing doula.
One of the top doulas in the country.
In the entire nation.
Give her a little credit where credit's due, right?
But she's awesome. That's my girl. So Olivia was a huge blessing to me. She was just super welcoming and inviting from the very first time I even called Modern Midwives. And I knew that was the community I was looking for.
It was a warm vibe. I didn't know what to expect. You've been around it, so I was just totally blind coming into this.
Yeah, well, hearing my friend from nursing school talk so positively and be so into the education and support, and then I, was greeted by Olivia, and then with our consultation with Mandy at Modern Midwives, I just immediately was like, this is the community I need, because I knew what I was looking for. I wouldn't have otherwise known what I really wanted, a lot, because again, in our culture, it's just like, yeah, you go to the doctor, you schedule an appointment. Things are just a little bit more like rigid and fast paced in our Western medical system, which can be a blessing and a curse in many ways.
Yeah.
But here, like with this community, I didn't even know I needed it even at first. I was just like, oh, they're so nice. I feel super comfortable. That's awesome.
I mean, at first it wasn't even about the community. It was more about the medical cares. It was the lens we were thinking about.
I knew I wanted my birth to just be low intervention. I didn't want to be rushed into any interventions. I wanted to kind of be the one deciding how my birth went.
And that's exactly how it went, right?
Yeah, definitely. And well, actually... Yes and no.
My
Loaded
wife,
question.
sometimes sarcasm goes over my wife's head.
Well, it's tricky because even though I didn't get the exact birth outcome I wanted and my birth plan was very different than I expected, I still felt in control.
That's true.
That's why you're like,
okay.
I did feel in control, honestly,
That's
even
fair.
though there
That's
were parts for sure that were out of my control and super unexpected.
Modern midwives definitely allowed you to have an experience that you
Like none other.
you were in control. Like you weren't being forced to do anything. Whereas a lot of times in the medical system, in our Western medical system, this is what's happening. There's no conversation. There's no feeling of like. I mean, because the crazy thing I learned throughout this whole process was, if you're having a natural home birth, you have to have the oxytocin pumping through your body. I mean, you got to be on a high. You got to feel good. You got to be relaxed and in that good state.
Well, and that's a lot of why the community is so important. And that's why Olivia had invited me to her pregnancy support group, which, like I said in the beginning, I do tend to be a bit more shy and introverted naturally. Like I don't naturally want to be in like scenarios where I have to network and things. I've definitely grown a lot over the years where I do actually enjoy that. But going to a pregnancy group really felt like self-care. I don't want to say like a waste of time, but I was in a very busy season of my business when I was pregnant. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go like sit around and just chat with a bunch of moms. Like that didn't seem like I didn't know it was going to be super fruitful. I was just like, oh, Olivia's cool.
Yeah, because at that time in your mind, you're like, well, I'm not going to network and try to grow my business in these moments. So it's like, why even go, right? Because we were in such a go mentality that it almost was like, is this kind of a waste of time? Like building connections, growing friendships. That's not what you were really seeking, honestly, because you didn't know how important it was.
I didn't know how important it would ultimately end up being. But then as I went to the pregnancy support group a few times, just sitting in a room with other pregnant women, I don't know, it just brings a sense of like relatability where I'm looking at another woman that's a few months ahead of me in pregnancy, and she's talking about like what she's learned and what she's excited for, and I'm like, man, I should start thinking about that. And then there's another girl or woman, I should say, another woman in there who just found out she was pregnant, and I'm offering her advice when I was only halfway through my pregnancy. But we're able to all relate and connect with each other, and that's just something like Google or ChatGPT or whatever can't do. Like is just put you in a room and like give that relatability, because you can learn. Of course, I had books, like all of this, but relating to people, chatting with people, hearing other people's dynamic with their partner or with their mom or who they were going to have as part of their birth team, or some of the pregnant women, this was their second or third pregnancy, so hearing things that they wanted to do differently, like just collaborating and connecting with other women. I was so shocked how much I actually really loved it. And so that was just really cool. And I want to encourage women out there, especially if you're pregnant or maybe you're postpartum, and you think going to like a pregnancy support group or a postpartum support group would be like weird or awkward. I would just invite you to just get a little uncomfortable maybe at first, and it will be worth it. So I'm really super excited to encourage y'all to do that because I'm super grateful that that was accessible to me. And I also know that not every community and every listener that is listening to this will have that luxury that we have of such an incredible birth community.
That's a big reason why you...
For sure.
That actually is a really big reason why you felt led to start this, right?
Yeah.
Why you felt so passionate about getting this started is because, so I guess you want like a virtual mom group, right? But you also want a mom group doesn't feel virtual.
Yeah.
You want to bring what you've experienced and be able to share it with anyone, no matter where they are in the world.
Yeah, especially because there's so many different variables and experiences people are having. So being in a pregnancy group was really great. Having an amazing doula, having a birth, community in my area was amazing throughout pregnancy, because I did feel very educated, and I was able to learn a lot and things like that. But even more so because of how, the end of my pregnancy went. And we'll dive into this for sure in another episode. I'm really excited to share the full experience that we had. But I planned for a home birth with Modern Midwives, and at the last minute, I'm 41 weeks, and we find out I need to have an emergency C-section.
Boom, baby. Yeah. Oh gosh, not what we expected at all.
Not what we expected at all. And, that was definitely very shocking and challenging in many ways. There were times that I did feel fearful, like I felt fear. I felt uncomfortable, like things got really messy. But having the community, hearing other variables, hearing from other moms, knowing what books to read, and like my mind was so prepared, and I just felt really knowledgeable and empowered, like stepping into even when things got messy, knowing that I still had the right to choose what happens in my body, like all of the different things that had built up to me taking care of myself throughout pregnancy, connecting with other moms, really had a huge part for how I was able to heal from that. And I've really realized since my journey of having an emergency C-section and healing from surgery while learning how to take care of a baby, like that was just not something I thought I would ever have to do. I realized it's actually really common. A lot of women don't get the birth outcomes they wanted as far as like their actual birth plan. Praise God, we have a beautiful, healthy baby girl. So I guess truly I did get the birth outcome I wanted, because that's what I wanted. Of course, was a healthy baby. That's ultimately the number one goal.
You got the outcome you wanted, but not the experience you desired.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm not discrediting what God did for us, which was give us our daughter super perfect, healthy, and I feel really grateful for that. But even I know there's moms out there who've gone through loss, gone through miscarriage, gone through a lot of really difficult things.
Stillborn. I mean, there's so many
so much.
People experience so much.
And healing from birth trauma. Like there's so many other variables that I feel like aren't talked about a lot because there's not really a space for that. And while that's not the only focus of this podcast, definitely I just want to highlight all sorts of different journeys, all sorts of different, ways of how people became a mother and what that journey has looked like, whether they're rushed into it, whether they were super excited, whether they had a hard time getting pregnant, whether they had a great postpartum experience, or they had a lot that they had to heal from, even like me, going through healing spiritually, mentally, physically, like sharing that is normal and it's okay. And all of us are just kind of winging it, whether you're in the trenches of postpartum or you have a toddler that's crazy and you can barely leave the house because it's just torture at this point. There's just so many different aspects of pregnancy, postpartum, motherhood that I want people to know they're not alone. And there's other people momming out there right alongside of you. You're never momming alone. And there's a place that we can all connect and collaborate and grow together. And I really am just excited for this to be like a hub of stories and community. So
you're never momming alone. I like that.
Yeah, you're never momming alone.
I've never heard that one. That's good.
Yeah, I know motherhood can feel kind of isolating sometimes.
Yeah.
When you're rocking a crying baby at 2 a.m, you have no idea why they're crying. I mean, again, if I wouldn't be in such a great community and have heard a lot of conversations and asked a lot of questions to experienced moms or chiropractors or midwives or doulas, then at 2 a.m, I wouldn't think, oh my gosh, maybe I should try this. Or wait, a friend of mine said that, when this happened, she did, tried this. Just having those extra tools in your tool belt is a huge blessing. And I think the virtual aspect is going to be really cool because, I think I mentioned this already, but there's people that don't have this community. There's people who don't live near their family. There's people who may not be able to get out and about for whatever reason. Maybe they don't have resources nearby. I have friends in the Midwest who the closest midwife to them that a lot of the moms use is like over 2 hours away. And so that's crazy. If that midwife hosts a postpartum or pregnancy support group, my friends aren't probably plugging into it because it's, a 2.5 hour drive, whereas I drive, a few minutes up the road and I have amazing people to connect with. So that's what I want to bring to a virtual platform that'll bless people like crazy, bless a bunch of ladies, a bunch of mamas, soon to be mamas, want to be mamas that are, planning for the future. I'm just really excited to make this super accessible. This community's blessed me a lot and I want to make it accessible to as many people as possible.
Yeah. So what I love about what you're doing is you've taken your experience that a lot of other women have experienced in some form or fashion, right? Meaning that you had this ideal vision of what your birth was going to look like. It did not go any, way of what you thought it was going to look like, right? So there was kind of a lot of expectations that were let down.
For sure.
There was a lot of confusion. You were feeling just overwhelmed, right? Not knowing, like, wait a minute, like I thought that this is how it was going to happen, and it happened totally different. And I think that that's such a good segue into motherhood and into being parents, is like, you can plan all you want, no matter how hard you try. You have to lean on other people through what you experience. Part of the healing journey was connecting with other women, connecting with other moms, talking to other women in these groups and throughout the community, to be able to say, oh, okay, I'm not alone. What I've gone through might be unique to my specific scenario, but how I feel, how I experience that, and in some sort of, way, we all can relate, no matter whether you had a hospital birth, C-section, home birth, whether you had your kid in the car on the way to the hospital. Like there's so many different parts of the process of having a baby and becoming a mom that so many women can relate to, and that's why you're bringing these different people together from within the birth community, moms, stories, bringing it together so that even though the listeners that are listening to this may not physically have a group like you had or a support system like you had, they have that same group or those same resources right at their fingertips. So I'm curious, how can people stay connected with this community?
Yeah, well, first of all, this podcast for sure is going to be an amazing resource. So whatever platform you're listening to this, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify or even on YouTube, comment on this episode and just tell me what you want to hear. Tell me what you enjoyed from, just this quick little pilot episode's introduction of what we'll be doing. I'm going to be looking through all of the feedback. So for sure, like and comment, subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. And also send it to a friend. If you literally can think of someone right now, a friend of yours that is pregnant and they're already saying like, oh, I'm scared of birth. Oh, I don't know. Like, this is going to be a great resource. If you have a mom friend who's in postpartum and she's not really leaving the house yet, and she's probably just binge watching random stuff on Netflix, cooking shows, if you were like me, postpartum was my go-to. And they just need a really good resource or community that is going to be fruitful instead of whatever random thing they're watching on Netflix, something that's gonna bring them life and joy and like some, hopefully like funny moments, some excitement, some relatability and connection, then definitely send this to them, share with people, share on social media, and we're on Instagram as well. It's Our Virtual Village is the Instagram.
Aren't there periods in between?
Yeah, someone already had the other handle that I really wanted, so I had to add some
first world problems, right?
Yeah, right. But I had to add a period, so it's Our Virtual Village. So Our Virtual Village. Find us on Instagram, connect on there, send it to your friends, and let me know what kind of content you're excited for. Let me know what questions you have if you're pregnant or postpartum or you're in the thick of motherhood. Let me know what you want to learn more about so I can be sure to highlight a certain birth worker or mom that I know is walking through something similar, and we'll just grow together and connect, and we'll see where this beautiful journey brings us.
Well, as we wrap up this episode, I can't help but just think how excited I am to see how much fruit comes from this. I really feel like this is going to be extremely fruitful and is going to be a huge blessing for so many women and men. Because I'll be honest, I listen to some of these podcasts. I listen to some of these books you send me.
Okay.
And it's good to get a perspective and understand, hey, this is what the woman's going through, right? How can I show up? So I'm excited to see how fruitful this is and where this goes and where God takes this. And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much. You've been a huge part of my journey, and I think I already covered that, but it only feels right that now I'm ready to take the mic figuratively and interview some amazing guests. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity to open up, share my intention, and what we're going to accomplish here. And so I'm excited to have the rest of the guests on, interview them, give you guys a peek into my world, the amazing community that I've been a part of, the mom groups, and conversations that I have been a part of and seen in my own life that's blessed me. I'm going to bring them straight to you guys and have those conversations on a virtual platform. So I'll see you on the next episode, and excited to connect with y'all.
And don't forget, you're not momming alone.
You're never momming.
You're never momming alone.
Oh, I love it.